welcome to another edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show, and it is our 4th of July edition. Hello to everybody. Happy birthday, America. And Rich, happy birthday, America, to you too.
Happy birthday, and what a great weekend it is. Celebrating all across this great country, Gary with his American flag and mask on. And I've got my mask I've been waiting for 2 months for, Gary. Phillies 3-pack arrived in the mail this past week. And to be honest with you, I ordered it so long ago. And let me take it off so people can hear me properly.
Yeah.
Just 1 second here.
I
ordered it so long ago that I didn't think we'd need it by the time I got it.
And it turns out we need it now more than ever, apparently. And we just wanted to show that we were socially responsible and socially distanced. And Rich, there's nothing more socially distanced than the way we do this podcast. I'll tell you that.
That's for sure. We want to follow all the guidelines and recommendations. And no, it is National Bikini Day, but this is not a bikini, folks. I'm not wearing a bikini.
That was in the pre-show.
That was the unrehearsed edition.
That might show up in the bloopers.
Yep. So, Gary, we have some baseball to talk about. We have normally a holiday where we're talking about baseball, apple pie. You want to throw it in? Chevrolet,
hot dogs, hamburgers,
yeah,
and double headers it used to be when I was a kid.
Yeah, and well, we didn't have any of the baseball, but we do have baseball to talk about all of a sudden.
We do we? That's a big question. Yeah, we have a settlement 60-game schedule, which seems ridiculous to me. I'm sorry to say. I think they should have just canceled it for the season, but they're going to play a 60-game schedule, Rich, and with some stupid add-on rules, the one being, of course, the universal DH in both leagues, which seems ridiculous. And the other stupid rule is that the extra inning games, they're going to go – a run is going to start on second base. And this is, of course, to hopefully get somebody to score so they won't go play 19 or 18 innings, which, by the way, doesn't guarantee that they still won't go 18 and 19 innings, putting a guy on base. And the whole idea also is that they will not run out of pitchers. They tried this in the minor leagues last season. I think I believe I was at a game. Maybe I was watching it on TV, and it was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. You know, the way to combat it is just walk the next batter and set up a double play. So, I don't know. But baseball's going to go ahead, maybe. And I say maybe, Rich, because players are opting out now, and others are testing positive, so they're dropping like flies all over the place.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate, and it really gives credence to how bad this pandemic still is. When we hear of our heroes coming down with this dreaded illness, I know locally around the Philadelphia area, word crept out that 7 guys were not in camp. Among them, and top and foremost, Aaron Nola, arguably one of the Phillies' best pitchers going into this season, has the virus. Someone circulated a video of Nola talking, and you really could tell that he had a problem even speaking. He was gasping for air a little bit. You could tell. I mean, it was just a shame, and that's the way this illness attacks you, attacks everybody differently, but it was very heart-wrenching to see that. And as you said, Gary, people are opting out left and right here, and you can't blame them.
No, you can't blame them at all, Rich. And but what's it going to do? I mean, we're talking about now Ryan Zimmerman and Joe Ross from the World Championship Washington Nationals, they both opted out. Major players in the championship last year, even though Zimmerman's in the tail end of his career and is probably going to be a platoon player at this point, still a leader on the field and in the dugout, he's going to opt out. Some other guys around the league, I can't even remember the names, but the big name now is David Price opting out of LA after being traded over there with Mookie Betts and a big deal for the Dodgers and the Red Sox, and now he's opting out. I mean, Mike Trout is thinking about it because his wife is having a baby, and so he's thinking of doing it. If you start getting a lot of these top players to opt out, it's not. I've been calling it on my show, Mets Music. I've been calling it exhibition season. It's getting to look like that more and more every day. If you don't have the top players playing, what is the sense of playing? Who wants to go see? You might have just canceled the MLB and let the minor leagues play. At that point, then, it's going to taint anybody that wins this World Series because everybody's going to say, well, it was a 60-game schedule. It depends upon who wins it, of course. If the Yankees win it, their fans will say, oh, we're 28 rings. If the Yankees lose it, they're going to say, oh, it's tainted. So it's going to matter who wins. But other than that, it doesn't matter. It's not going to count. My luck, the Mets will win this year, and everybody will say, it doesn't really count, though. But the point being, is there any sense left in playing this? If players are opting out and guys are getting sick, I think there's 31 or 37 the last I heard players that tested positive for this. And why are they testing positive for now? I mean, they never or does that mean that they had it and it's over with? Or it's very confusing. They don't tell you that they have it now.
Well, they have to give permission to let the team divulge that information. So some guys did. In the case of Aaron Nola, another Philly granted permission. There's 5 other players that have not reported to camp. Assumably they have it too, but they did not opt in to allow the team to divulge their medical condition. But as you said, Gary, Mike Trout, one of the biggest players in baseball, we're on the same wavelength here. Here's a little video, if I can share this on the screen here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we're going to hear the audio from this, but here's Mike Trout. I don't know if you can hear that audio. Can you hear it, Gary?
I don't hear it yet.
Okay. So he's saying in the video on the screen that he does not feel comfortable. His baby's on the way, obviously, as you just said. And if you look at that face, this is a report on ESPN. That's a look of worry. It's a look of somebody that does not want to go through with this, obviously. And it's a family decision. You can't really blame him or any other player for that matter. Their health is at risk. It affects everybody differently. I think you're going to see Mike Trout opting out.
And that's fine. But then my argument is this. Why did we go through this whole charade of negotiations when the stupid commissioner, which is another thing we can get to, but I'll mention it now. I guess I was going to wait a little bit later, but he came out and said that they were only going to play 60 games no matter what. So what was all this 76 games and 114, all this negotiation back and forth when the end game was going to be 60 games?
Well, a lot of the pie in the sky good feelings from the players were they wanted to play more games. Yes, they get paid more, but I think now that the cold reality of seeing, hey, there's 30 some odd players now that have this illness in various stages, as you said. Some are asymptomatic, uh, didn't even know they had it, obviously. Some do know they have it. They have some symptoms. They're having the shortness of breath, the other different symptoms that are being talked about with this. And, it's something that's a real harsh reality to these players now. Before it was just you're at home, you're in a cocoon, you're working out with your $1 million house and your $500,000 set of gym at home. Yeah, rah, rah, let's go play 2 every day. But now the players back in camp and they're finding out, hey, this guy's got it. Now this guy's got it. Who's next? They're afraid.
And I get that, but they should have been afraid in the beginning as well, and we could have avoided all of this by them saying, that union has enough power to say, look, we're afraid we're going to opt out anyway, so what's the sense in negotiating this? Let's just cancel it for the year and pick it up next year. I think it would. We've discussed this before. It would have looked better for the game of baseball, and it just looks ridiculous now. What happens if they have to cancel it now? They're going to look almost completely stupid. And if that doesn't cost Manfred his job, I don't know what does.
Yeah, well, all the major leagues are trying to get their seasons together, so to speak. The players wanted to play. The owners wanted some revenue to come in and the game to continue. So there was a Spartan effort to do this. We're still about 19 days away from the start, 18 days away from the time we're doing the podcast. There would still be time to fold it in and scrap it. I think if you keep seeing more people and more players, by that I mean getting this illness, that there's no alternative in this. And baseball has really put itself out there foremost for the other leagues to see, hey, this guy's got it. 5 guys on this team have it. Wait till your superstars have it, and a few superstars do have it, by the way. And you're going to start realizing that, yeah, it's not worth it to do a season at all. It's still very dangerous amongst even the players themselves. Nothing's changed from March and April. It's still just as dangerous as it was then. The fallacy of all of it is a lot of the public are going out with no masks, not protecting themselves, going to the beach, crowding into different areas like the beach, and not taking into account there's still a pandemic out there.
Well, it certainly is, and you do hear stories though about the numbers being false that are coming out now. I'll give you an example. I read somewhere where a person said that their parents' friends went to, this was in Texas, I believe. They went to get tested. I imagine they must have registered and were online for 2 hours and said the heck with it and left. And about an hour later, when they got home, they got a call saying that they both tested positive. Now, they never took the test, so how could they get tested positive?
Yeah.
So you wonder, it make, you hear all these other stories too. So you wonder if the numbers are accurate. You hear that there's a lot of false positive testing going on. I think it's just the point you don't know what to believe anymore, and that's the sad part. And I think that's why, it's almost like these politicians saying don't get in large groups when it's one group, but yet the protesters were allowed to go out and wreak havoc, and nobody said a word to them.
Yeah, and I don't even think they would have listened. But That is true. There was a big silence on the effect of that situation, um, and an uncommonly inappropriate silence on all sides, not saying about their safety, but also not doing anything about, the violent protests that eventually took place as well. And we've touched on that on the last show and expressed our feelings on that. But as you said, it's still very much in play. Um, you can't ignore it and think it's gone away, because it hasn't. But 38 players now tested positive so far with baseball, and I think we're going to see some bigger names opting out in the next week.
Well, we may very well be seeing that. But speaking of names not opting out, the pressure is on again, a couple of teams to change their names with all of this cultural revolution that they're trying to do here to shut down everything that we know of and erase our American history. The Cleveland Indians, once again, are under fire, and they are considering changing their names. The Texas Rangers are under fire. They say they have no plan to change their team name, and usually Texas is a little bit tougher. And this all started with the Washington Redskins in the NFL saying that they're going to change their name. I always thought what I would do with the Washington Redskins, just to tick everybody off, is I'd get rid of that logo and make my logo a potato, a Redskin potato. And that would be, I could keep my name, the Redskins, but my logo would be a potato. Who could protest against a potato? Right?
That's a marvelous way of getting around that, obviously.
That's the way I would do it.
Yeah, and it's big corporations behind this. I think all these big liberal change the world organizations, but fill their own pockets up while they're changing worlds. Nike, I'm talking about specifically, stop selling merchandise.
Yeah.
I wish Nike was not a sponsor of a baseball shirt this year and for the next several years, because I'll never buy one now. And I was going to. I'm so glad I didn't. A couple $100. I do not want that jersey anymore. I don't want the swoosh on it, the Nike. It's not the jersey, but it's the company now.
Well, not only that, why couldn't they put it on the sleeve like Majestic and Rawling and everybody else did when they had the run? Why? I mean, it looks stupid on the front of the shirt, to be honest.
Yeah, and baseball should have stepped in and said, hey, put it on the sleeve. That's all you're getting. But, big, bold Nike, which, by the way, I'm wearing a Nike shirt, but can you tell? It's inside out.
Well, it's okay if you wear it, if you bought it at the outlet. Then at least they're not getting full price. And they had to get rid of that shirt anyway. So outlet shopping's okay if you must buy a Nike stuff, but don't go spend full price for it.
Yeah, they've got my last dollar. I do like the construction and the feel of the shirt, but I'll get another manufacturer with the same thing. I'm not going to wear it out in public anymore. I'm not going to wear I got a set of sneakers a couple months ago. After not having them for years, and now I understand, and I've forgotten why I haven't been buying Nike things for years. And now it's just a cold slap in the face. That's why I didn't.
So we're boycotting Nike. We're boycotting. I don't wear Nike because I find their shoes to be, I have a very wide foot, and I find their shoes to be very narrow. So I have to wear either New Balance or Skechers seem to be good for me. But I haven't worn Nike in a long, long time. But I'll help you protest them. I always liked Adidas anyway, or Adidas, or however you want to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, we're also we're boycotting Starbucks. Who else? Another big corporation. And you know what's funny about these corporations? They're backing these here people because I think they think that they can control them. But if they ever get in power, they're not going to control them. These mobs, they'll burn down a Starbucks or a Nike store as fast as they burn down any other store. So don't think you may think, oh, we're going to help their cause and everything.
Yeah.
These people, their cause is to take you over.
No, they're trying to saddle them is what they are. They're trying to put a Nike saddle right on top of them and ride them.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Because they'll take, and then they'll turn on you like dogs. So you better be watching your back, Nike, and all of you companies, because they ever get in power, forget it. They're liable to just nationalize you.
Yeah.
And then what are you gonna do?
Very interesting with that. And as you said, Gary, with the changes in baseball, different people opting out. Posey out in San Francisco on the verge of saying he's going to opt out. I can almost guarantee you Trout is going to, as much as he probably doesn't want to because they're trying to make him the poster of baseball.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to do it. I really don't think we're going to see a season completed this year with that 60 games playoffs. I think that this has the great possibility of decimating through the ranks of this great game of ours, unfortunately. And it's just not going to be pretty. And it's not pretty right now. It's not pretty two and a half weeks before we start the season.
Unless they just keep throwing players in there and, you end up with a AAA team or something winning the whole thing because, it's going to be all not replacement players like we had, but, replacements for the stars that are all opting out. Because, if you think of it, if a big star gets this, are they going to actually come back then? They're going to say, you know what? No, I'm not bothered. You know what I'm saying? Even if they stay and they play a little bit and then get it, they're not going to come back. It's going to be like a season ending. They're going to say, nah, the heck with it. I'll come back in spring training.
Yeah, and the way it affects everybody is differently. You could have lingering symptoms that you can't possibly come back. God forbid one of the players dies from it. Then you're going to then really then is when I think the players union will vote to stop, take everything into context and do what's right for their health.
Yeah. The only thing going in their favor, of course, is that they are in a younger age group. The death total, even in all age groups, has been really low. I think it's something like 4.29%, which is the lowest in the world. I think it's still something to be concerned about. I mean, we did have an 11-year-old die of it, but the odds are anyone dying are very low. But still, like you said, you don't know if somebody else has got some kind of other condition that it accelerates or interferes with and hurts them. So I don't know. We've got a couple of weeks, as you said, and we'll see what happens with it.
Yep, and as you said, baseball continuously checking the players, even in this spring training 2.0. Typical day for the players. Every other day they're getting their temperatures checked. If it's 100.4 or above, they'll be sent home, tested, of course, and required to take their own temperatures before coming to the ballpark. So fever is a big thing. with this, and they're tested every other day. So at the end of this spring training here in summer, we're going to have up to 3 exhibition games if it still continues on. And then, of course, it'll be against a regional opponent. The Mets and the Yankees most likely getting together because they're so close. The Phillies and probably Baltimore will probably face off, although that hasn't been announced yet. And what else is going on here? Recent outbreaks in Florida and Arizona made it much easier for the MLB to have the camps being held in their home towns of the ball teams. But across the country, again, things are getting locked down, especially in Florida. Travelers there are now quarantining in different states now, Gary, and it's we're getting back to turning back the clock on this a little bit again as it gets out of control again.
Yeah, a little bit, and we've got an injury already too. Matsuyama Tanaka took a line drive off the head from Giancarlo Stanton yesterday in a Yankee simulated game or inter-squad game, whatever they were calling it. So they took him off the mound, and we'll see how he's doing. So that was some shot, I got to tell you. But maybe we'll see a revival of the funky hats. Remember a couple of years ago, some of the pitchers were complaining and they were trying all of these different kind of hats. And then the Mets had the guy with the huge Wizard of Oz hat on, or whatever. Yeah, whatever they were calling it thing. And now all of a sudden that whole issue died down. It's pretty amazing. Maybe there'll be a revival of that with Tanaka getting hit in the head.
I did see that online. Several of the Yankees were upset that, it made the rounds of social media, but I think they're forgetting this is news now. I mean, if a pitcher gets hit in the head and knocked down and taken to the hospital, that's news. It's going to be featured on the news. So you have a lot of players complaining about things that have always happened, which is amazing. Maybe they've forgotten since they've been off with the COVID break here.
Or maybe the COVID's playing with their heads.
Another player opting out just yesterday, Gary, Felix Hernandez, longtime Seattle Mariner. Was going to be pitching for the Braves this year. He opted out due to the virus concerns, and he's no young spring chicken. He's 34.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't do very well last year.
34, that's a baby to me.
Well, for baseball pitchers, I guess. And actually, he went 1-8 with a 6.40 ERA last year for the Mariners, losing his place in the rotations. Had a very tough season last year as well.
Yeah, well, maybe that's why he's opting out this year. Well, Toronto's Blue Jays pitcher Felipe Almont is taking a different approach to this, Rich. He's not opting out. He's retiring from Major League Baseball, and he's retiring to become a farmer, he announced on CBC Radio's Ottawa Morning. Ormont was in the Blue Jays camp on a minor league deal before the pandemic postponed the season in March. But even with MLB teams preparing for a return, the 31-year-old decided to go a different route in his life. There's a meaning to it. I want to touch nature. I want to learn about animals and growing vegetables and fruit crops. Just the endless possibilities for me on a farm is priceless, Ormont explained of his decision. So there you go. There's a guy picking a different road in life. He's not opting out, but he's retiring to become a farmer. You don't hear that a lot.
No, not really. Not a sought after job. It's such a hard lifestyle. A couple ball players had retired to become farmers. I think one of your top players, you just interviewed him not too long ago, I believe, didn't you, Gary? From the Mets.
Who did I just interview?
Um, or I saw an interview online. I can't remember which one it was, but I thought you had talked with him. But he's in the Midwest. I can't remember his name right now, but he played for the Mets for years, and he retired to the Midwest, and he's a farmer out there. But Philippe Almont came up with the Phillies organization, and more power to him. Maybe his onions will be on a cheesesteak in Philadelphia sometime. He'll get the direct, onion business.
I don't know. That's Canadian fruit and vegetables. So I don't know if they'll be allowed across the border. But interesting story about Colin McHugh, formerly of the Astros. I don't know if you saw this, Rich. Colin McHugh, who's currently under contract, he would technically have to pay the Boston Red Sox to pitch for them in 2020. Here's how it's possible. He signed a 1-year deal for $600,000 guaranteed contract with Boston in early March. Later that month, Major League Baseball and the MLB Players Association came to an agreement that would pay MLB players a guaranteed deals $287,500 advance on their 2020 salaries. Now that the season is set at 60 games, however, players are set to make just 37% of their original 2020 salaries. In McHugh's case, that would be $222,000, $222,000 altogether. So it's 222, comma 222. So in essence, the 33-year-old right-hander already got paid more in his advance than he's supposed to make in 2020, which means he technically owes the Red Sox $64,278. And there's a bunch of other players that are in the same boat. I don't know how it's going to work, how they're going to figure it out, but he may have to pay to play this year. And wouldn't that be ironic?
Maybe a payment plan situation?
Maybe. I don't
know. It'd be like a cabbie. Some cabbies have to pay for their cab before they drive for the week. So why should a baseball player be different?
There you go.
Gary, I just did some research real quick about that Mets pitcher. He also pitched for the Phillies, if you can see on our screen here.
Oh, Kirk Wendell.
Yes, Mr. Turk Wendell, 99, one of my favorite pitchers growing up, or as an adult, actually. And yeah, Turk Wendell out in Iowa, planting his corn all happily. And, maybe they know something that we don't know about growing food.
Maybe they do, Rich. Maybe they do, because we certainly aren't making any money, so maybe they do. But you can help us not make money. You can help us make some money if you go to our Patreon page and give a little support there. Whatever you could afford, just go to patreon.com/baseball talk radio show. Or go to anchor.fm, which hosts the audio version of this podcast. And you can leave a support right there. Just click on the old support button, and it will give you different suggestions. And anything that you do will be greatly appreciated. We don't make a penny doing this. We've invested our time and money into this, and we'd like to improve it even more, improve the video aspect of it and our audio, but we need your help for that. So whatever you can support and give us would be greatly appreciated.
Absolutely. Go over to anchor.fm/baseball talk radio show. As Gary said, you can subscribe there. Also on iTunes, Apple iTunes. Do they still call it Apple Podcasts now? I think it's,
Yeah, I keep calling it iTunes myself, Rich. So
we'll catch up to the what they're doing
yeah, one of these
someday.
is.
A little report on our listenership. And as well, right from our Anchor platform, you can hit that subscribe button. 100% safe on your donations, 99 cents a month will get us off the ground. If 10 or 12, 15 people were to do that, that listen to our show, we greatly appreciate it. And as Gary said, we'd be able to bring you more great programming, different things we'd like to do with the show. Here's some listener information for you. 84% of listeners of our show have come from Apple Podcasts. They're the big gorilla in the room, so to speak, on podcasting. Anchor, 5% direct. Thank you, Anchor folks out there, for subscribing. Overcast, 3%, and then other, 8%. So nice listing there of our listening platforms. We have a lot of female listeners, 18% female listeners out there. Hello to all the ladies, and hope your holiday is going well. And Gary, we're 90% of our listeners come from the United States.
Ah, okay. And we have 123, I think, subscribers on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. And we'd like you to take a look over there and watch the video and maybe boost up, subscribe, hit that subscribe button. Let's get those numbers up there. We want to get up to 1,000, but we'd settle for 200 right now.
Exactly. Yeah. One at a time. Go to youtube.com, search for the Baseball Talk Radio Show. You'll see our logo, and then that gets you our shows, notifications to you that our show is available. Gary's been mixing it greatly over the last several months, so I hope you appreciate his work as well on the show. And Gary, we're going to be back sooner. We took a week off there to let some news accumulate about the game, but we're getting close to a start of baseball again.
I hope so, Rich. Even if it's a short season, like I said, to me, it's going to be an exhibition season the whole way. But at least it'll be something to watch and to root for, I guess. And hopefully we're going to see some top players stay in and have big years, in an abbreviated fashion, and see how it goes.
Yeah. God bless all the players that are going through the spring training right now. Hopefully they don't get this dreaded virus. And thanks to our listeners as well. Stay safe out there. Keep washing your hands. Wear the masks. It may be uncomfortable, but it's going to keep you a little bit safer from the virus than you would if you weren't doing those items. So keep in mind, everybody, that there is a pandemic out there and you need to protect yourself and others.
And it's just a little something you can do. Look, I agree with a lot of these people. You don't want to be told what to do, and I agree with you. We're giving up the rights, but you got to think about other people, and I do because I'm in that age bracket, and so just put it on. You go into a store, put it on. You're going to be around a lot of people, just put it on. I was talking to a friend of mine. He stopped by, and we both had our masks on, and we were socially distanced apart away, and had a discussion. And we did have a little snack to eat. I got to tell you, it was a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
So that aspect of it, I mean, if we were having a meal, this was just a little snack. if we were having a meal, we probably would have taken the mask off or pushed it down more. We were trying to eat with the mask, lift the mask, take a bite, and put the mask down. Uh,
Yeah,
and it's tough, but look, you know, just do. It's a little something to try and do. That's all.
that's excellent advice. Gary Mack, you have a great week, and I'll talk to you real soon on our next edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show.
See you soon, Rich.